When the HOA tried to ban my Halloween decorations, Karen, the new president, thought she could bully me into compliance. Little did she know, I was ready to fight back. What started as a simple protest quickly turned into a viral sensation, and Karen's power trip unraveled. But let's start from the beginning. It was a sunny October afternoon when I first saw it. A bright yellow notice stuck to my front door. It looked official, like one of those bills you never want to get. I read the words printed on the paper, my heart sinking with each line. Unauthorized Halloween decorations. Remove by October 10th to avoid fines. The HOA had crossed a line. I'm David Roberts, a 38-year-old dad who takes Halloween seriously. My house was always one of the most decorated on the block. Ghosts, skeletons, spiders, pumpkins. My kids, Lily and Max, loved the haunted house atmosphere. The entire neighborhood had grown to expect it, and I was proud to carry on the tradition. My wife, Jennifer, and I had spent hours putting it all together. But now, just weeks before the holiday, the HOA was trying to ruin it. I'd heard whispers from a few neighbors that the new HOA president, Karen, didn't like the decorations, but I didn't take it seriously. The HOA had always been a bit overbearing, sure, but they had never really interfered with anything this personal before. Now, this was their direct attack. I tried calling Karen, figuring this would be a simple misunderstanding, but the conversation didn't go as I'd hoped. I'm sorry, David, but the HOA regulations are clear. We're just trying to maintain the aesthetic integrity of the neighborhood. Halloween decorations simply aren't approved, she said, her voice sharp and dismissive. I couldn't believe it. Aesthetic integrity? It's Halloween. People love it. Karen didn't care. She told me that if I didn't take everything down by the 10th, there would be fines, and it could escalate to further actions if I didn't comply. My blood boiled. This wasn't just about decorations. This was about control, about whether I could live my life freely in my own house. I knew then I wasn't going to just roll over. This was a battle I had to win, not only for my kids, but for everyone in this neighborhood. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. I couldn't believe the audacity of Karen and the HOA. It wasn't just a couple of decorations. It was about taking away something that mattered to my family. Halloween was a tradition, a part of what made this neighborhood feel like home. It wasn't something to be dictated by a handful of people who thought they could control every little thing. So, I did what any fed-up homeowner would do. I started a petition. I printed flyers and started handing them out to my neighbors. Help us keep Halloween alive, I wrote. Some of my neighbors were hesitant at first. Oh, it's just the HOA. You know how they are, they would say. But slowly, support started to build. People were pissed, and they weren't going to stand for it. As the deadline approached, the HOA sent me another letter warning me to comply, this time threatening legal action. But I wasn't backing down. It was time to take the fight public. I started posting about it on social media. At first, just to my local community group, but then it quickly snowballed. People from other cities, other states, started commenting and sharing their own stories about similar HOA overreaches. The hashtag #SaveHalloween began trending. Before I knew it, the story went viral. News outlets reached out, wanting to cover the absurdity of the HOA trying to ban Halloween decorations. The more people got involved, the more support I found. Every day I was getting messages of encouragement. You're doing the right thing. We need to take a stand. The HOA had underestimated me. They thought they could intimidate me into compliance, but I wasn't going to let it go that easily. By the time October 10th rolled around, my front yard was covered in decorations bigger and better than ever before. But this time, there was something new. A protest. I organized a spooky walk where neighbors and supporters gathered to march through the neighborhood, dressed as skeletons, zombies, and witches. They carried signs that said things like, "Halloween is a right," and "HOA, leave our yard alone." What started as a small neighborhood protest became a massive event. My wife, Jennifer, stood with me, beaming as she passed out candy to every kid in sight. The protest caught fire on social media. Videos of the march spread, and the news stations started showing up. They were calling it David versus Karen, the Halloween battle of the decade. For the first time, it felt like we had the upper hand. The support was overwhelming. Neighbors who had been silent all this time came forward to back us up. People who'd been skeptical about getting involved realized how ridiculous this was. Halloween wasn't just some harmless fun. It was part of what made the community special. Karen, meanwhile, was furious. But it was too late. The media was in full swing, and there was no way the HOA could backtrack now without looking like complete bullies. It was clear to everyone that this wasn't about rules. It was about one person trying to impose their will on the entire neighborhood. On Halloween night, the neighborhood was alive. The protest had gained so much traction that I was getting messages from strangers who had come to see the spectacle. I decorated my house like never before, covering the lawn with fog machines, glowing jack-o'-lanterns, and a life-sized zombie apocalypse scene. The entire street was lit up with Halloween cheer, and it felt like one big party. Then the HOA made their final move. Karen showed up with a couple of board members at my door. She was livid. "This is unacceptable, David," she shouted, but the crowd gathered around our house didn't back down. They cheered us on, calling out her hypocrisy. A local news crew was there, filming the whole thing. Karen's face was red with frustration, but there was nothing she could do. The camera zoomed in on her as she realized she had lost. In the days that followed, the HOA was forced to issue a public apology, saying they would review their policies and would no longer interfere with residents' right to decorate for holidays. Karen was quietly removed from her position as president. The entire ordeal was a victory not only for me, but for anyone who'd ever had their personal freedom trampled by an overreaching HOA. And as for Halloween, it became a symbol of what a community could do when they fought for what was right. My kids had the best Halloween ever, and as we handed out candy to all the neighborhood kids, I knew we'd won something bigger than just the right to decorate. We'd won back our voices.